Welcome, everyone. Thank you for your hour together. Thank you for making time to be here. It is beyond an honor to have been asked to share on one of my very favorite subjects, with the modern technology, modern medicine, being able to bring back these experiences and validating what has been coming through for millennia in the teachings of Theosophy. So this presentation is similar to one that I did in London. I just can't get enough of it. Every time they come in with it, they literally highlight and pinpoint this quantum physics, science, all of it. So this is my presentation on how these near-death experiences and a compilation of them, how they validate our teachings of Theosophy. So who am I? I don't like to use my name that much because it isn't about me. I'm just a voice. I'm a former radio and television presenter, and I just wish to use my voice for purpose. So that's why I started voicing the teachings. I just wanted to get them out into the world because the world has changed. It's no longer libraries and dusty meeting rooms and societies where we're cut off. We're here. We're actually here on this black mirror that's inside all of our pockets. That's where we're meeting. So that was what I wanted to do, was to try to go out and to share these teachings in this modern world. Now, this next slide here, this is a picture of my little guy. This is Alex. And when he was born, there were photos, and they're coming through now. You see a lot of these orbs and lights and things. I believe that this might have been a protection around him. I'm not really sure, but if you look where the arrow is pointing on his shoulder, he has a birthmark that was about 2 inches long when he came in. And I remember during that very emotional moment when he was placed on my chest, of this overwhelming sense of love. He is the love of my life. I looked at that and I thought in a weird way that was a wound from the past. It seemed to be a wound from the past, possibly an arrow, I'm not sure. It's now gotten to be much more prominent. And anyway, the birthmarks, as you've had people who've come through here before, the professors talking about, a lot of these are entry and exit wounds. There's so much to our story that we carry with us from lifetime to lifetime. Birthmarks are one of them. So this is a little picture of my little guy. And now he showed me the other day on a FaceTime that gray hair is growing out of it. And I said, that's wisdom. There's something to learn from that. Pay attention to this particular mark. We all have them, and we all carry with us parts of previous personalities and incarnations. And a lot of that is prodigies. We see these children prodigies come in, miraculously being able to sit down and play the piano, and everybody's thinking, oh, they're so gifted. I believe that they are remembering, and I think more people are beginning to understand that. They're remembering, they're bringing this in with them. The imaginary friends of childhood. There's so much that can be learned if we would take these theosophical teachings and put them in as early as possible, to not discourage imaginary friends because they're close. They're so close to the other side as they come in. We pshaw them, we tend to dismiss them, not look beyond the five senses. Oh, how we must. And that's one of the things that I hope to see, is that sometime that we will learn how important these ancient wisdoms are to put in as soon as possible as humanity's textbook. And a lot of the times the children will come in and they'll say to their parents, before I lived with you, Mom, I had my other mom. Sally was my other mom. I want to go talk to my other mom. So these children are coming in. This is not a near-death experience. These are new birth experiences. But as I was doing some research, I thought I would include these. Cowlicks as well. Now, with our modern technology being able to connect the entire world, we now can validate these facts. Some of them by the street. Some of them go back and they're able to reunite with their children who are in their 80s. And they say there's no way that anybody other than Mom would know that. So the proof is coming back, and I find that incredibly inspiring. Dr. Ian Stevenson, who is a scholar and professor of psychiatry at the University of Virginia, and a reincarnation pioneer, he talks about where reincarnation and biology intersect. You'll be seeing lots of this. We see lots of this all the time. science and religion are catching up to each other. However, since the beginning of time, these teachings have been coming through as the mysteries in the alchemy and the Kabbalah and the Alexandrian philosophers. This is not new, but we're now able to understand it through a different vein, a completely different vein, one that we can have immediate contact with people all over the world and validate these teachings. So he's saying here, sorry, my slide's a little bit funky there. The key evidence found from this book, which is called Where Reincarnation and Biology Intersect, is the key evidence found is the close relationship between the nature of wounds causing the death of the previous personality and the presence of birthmarks at the same location on the child who recalls this previous life and how it ended. Again, that's why the photo of Alex was there. And there's people that come in with fingers missing that remember an injury that was in the previous lifetime. There's so much that we don't know. Every day that I study Theosophy, I find out how very little I actually know, if anything at all. Jim Tucker, child psychologist from the University of Virginia and author of Life Before Life, a scientific investigation of children's memories of previous lives. In Return to Life, he states quantum physics, which if we take these teachings and we understand this is what they're talking about. It's science, philosophy, religion, quantum physics. Quantum physics indicates that our physical world may grow out of our consciousness. And Dr. Tucker says that is a view held not just by me, but by a number of physicists as well. So it's no longer airy-fairy woo-woo stuff. Science is picking up on this. So here, I know in 2013 there was an issue with his experience, and I would imagine he would have gotten a lot of flack for speaking out as he did. But Dr. Eben Alexander, this is a quote from one of his talks. He says, "There are many in this world who have known so much of these truths for such a very long time." This is from his near-death experience. He was an absolute skeptic. He says, but there are so many in this world who have known so many of these truths for such a very long time. In fact, this is really about the convergence of human knowledge that will lead into the most amazing and unimaginable future for all of humanity. Now that's, he's the one who's written several books now, but The Proof of Heaven, he's speaking now, again, the convergence of science and spirituality, which we are in this particular incarnation able to see with the invention of the internet and the medical science bringing people back. We are able to see it now more than ever before. So if you're here in this room, you don't need to know what this is. But if someone is going to come across this wondering, what is Theosophy? I know you get this question asked all the time. Is it a religion? No, it's not. Theosophy is divine knowledge or science. Now, the more that I come to study, the more I understand that it is fact-based. This is not just a belief, a hope, a wish, so-and-so told me, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. It is based on application, self-application, self-experience, therefore proving your own fact. And when you have that experience for yourself, then it becomes a fact to you. That's what happens through the application, self-application of Theosophy. It doesn't matter what anybody is saying to you or what lectures you go to, or even what you study. It's not an academic journey. You know this. Theosophy here, from the key to Theosophy, is divine wisdom, Theosophia, or wisdom of the gods, as in Theogonia, genealogy of the gods. As you know, it feels weird to say this to you, but if you don't know this and you're watching this, Theos, of course, meaning gods, but not in the sense attached to our day-to-day term, which was written 130 years ago of some, I don't know, supernatural superhero that floats around in the clouds that is completely separate from you. That's not what we're talking about. Or even the Greek gods. We're talking about divine wisdom possessed by the gods. The term is many 1,000 years old. You know that already. So facts, not faith. That's one of the things that in my own current studies is facts, not faith. As I study this, when we say that it is a marriage of science, spirituality, and religion, science, philosophy, and religion, in the secret doctrine, it is written that Theosophy is the uninterrupted record covering thousands of generations of seers whose respective experiences were made to test and verify the traditions passed orally by one race to another of the teachings of higher and exalted beings who watched over the childhood of humanity. In this book, that for long ages, wise men of the fifth race, of the stock saved and rescued from the last cataclysm and shifting of the continents, had passed their lives in learning, not teaching. So how did they do this? It is answered, and again, facts, not faith, by checking, testing, and verifying. That's really important. Testing, checking, and verifying in every department of nature, the traditions of old, by the independent visions of the great adepts. Adepts, as you know, men who have developed and perfected their physical, mental, psychic, and spiritual organizations to the utmost possible degree. At that time, the utmost possible degree, no vision of one adept was accepted until it was checked and confirmed by the visions, so obtained to stand as independent evidence of other adepts and by centuries of experiences. I find this very comforting, especially when people say that Helena Petrovna Blavatsky wrote this down. It's not channeled from one experience, from one visit to the astral plane. This is much, much more. We are looking at humanity's textbook. This is what we are looking at in these teachings. These seeds were planted 130 years ago. It is our turn now to reap that harvest and plant for those who to come, for those who are to come. To quote Wordsworth, which is in the Key to Theosophy as well, our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with us, our life's star, hath elsewhere had its setting and cometh from afar. Love that. I love that. So as we get into these, this is, I've taken and I've combined a lot of them. Almost all of them say the same thing. But what are the commonalities of these NDEs, which means near-death experience? Out-of-body experience can also bring you over through the veil. But the commonalities, I've kind of boiled them down into what I'm going to show you. Basically right there with the arrow, that's what it is. But when they come back with this enthusiasm and the messages that they have to bring back are almost verbatim, they are verbatim as to what is in the teachings of Theosophy. These are quotes cross-referenced from thousands and thousands of near-death experiences and boiled down to a presentation that I'm going to try to fit into 45 minutes. The indescribable, ineffable, overwhelming sense of unconditional love. Loving beings of light are often seen, radiating tremendous and all-encompassing, intense sense of understanding. There's a sense of understanding. I get it now. I didn't when I was down there, when I was in the physical world, but I get it now. An understanding of everything. Unconditional love, unconditional compassion, connection, warmth, joy. And many of them do say they see their own religious figure, whether it be Buddha or Christ or Krishna or whoever, Muhammad, because that's what you're coming out of this particular incarnation. But there is no religion when they get there. They frequently take the shape of these religious figures. And so that's familiar and comforting and loving to those who have crossed over. But they find there are no words to accurately describe that this is such a two-dimensional, kind of a thick, and I'll get to that in a moment, world. It's impossible to describe what they experience. There is no time, which is in our teachings, no dimensions, all explained in our teachings, only limitless knowledge. These are quotes. I didn't put quotations around them because I've mixed them all together. These are actual quotes from people who have crossed over and have come back. There is power beyond power, dissolving everything. The universe itself envelops in unity, the totality, the oneness of who we really are. They come back understanding that we are all connected. We are an unlimited expression of spirit. We are becoming existence itself. Does that not speak of that in the way we describe Fohat, coming into being, all of our Manvantaras, all of this is being said by people coming back and brave enough to speak up to their doctors, the silence behind the silence. I loved that quote. He goes, I can't explain it other than the silence behind the silence. And it was limitless and it was loving. They understand that everything that our soul has experienced through every past life life after life. It's you hear the life flash before my eyes when people pass away. That saying is not there for no reason. You do have many of you know this already. I feel a little silly saying this to you, but the past life review, when they come back and explain these, that there is no fear, there's no judgment. It's your own observation from a different perspective. There is only perfect love, happiness, comfort, and feeling cherished beyond measure. You are forever loved unconditionally. Sometimes when I'm having crappy days, I go back and revisit this presentation because I love the way I remember watching their faces as they were explaining this. I'm not sure if I included it in this one. I'll see if I can. There was a man talking about, I don't think I did. Man was talking about how a mother holds a newborn baby, but he said that wasn't even close. Multiply it by 10 million, and then 10 million again, and then 10 million again, and you're that baby, and then another 10 million. So the understanding that the body, our physical self, this teaches us in our theosophical teachings, we're a sevenfold being, but it is understood when they come back, no matter where they are on the path, they're coming back with this information that the body is the house that we live in. It's an exploration meat suit that we experience life here on planet Earth. It's our biological suit that we get a chance to explore Earth in. We can make little ones, we need to fuel it. It's very obvious to them when they come back. Proof and understanding that there is life after physical death, that there is not a void of endless nothingness. They're coming back saying, no, I'm serious. I experienced this and it was more real than real. That we understand that although the earthly body is transitory, that the we, that is we, our consciousness continues to be and we evolve. There is no death and life is but a day. This one life that we're in right now, that I'm talking to you as Anne or Living Theosophy, is just a day. That's it. Consciousness, awareness, and alertness is more real than real. Colors, they come back and they talk about the colors. This tapestry is beautiful. It's middle 18th century. It's gorgeous, but the colors that they talk about are off the charts. There's nothing on earth to compare them to. The music that they describe is out of this world in every possible way. It cannot be repeated. There are some people that tap into it and bring it back with them. Lisa Gerard, I think, maybe an artist that might be able to go back and forth. I'm not sure. But the colors are beyond comprehension and everything is of absolute love. Planetary life seems more a two-dimensional dream, heavy, an illusion. It feels empty. These are all quotes, again, there's quite a few. Awareness and certainty of an infinite, loving, omnipresent presence. That's comforting on its own, even if we leave with nothing else. They have a certainty of an infinite, loving, omnipresent presence. I love that's beautiful. It's mellifluous, love it. The telepathic communication, they also mention that when they communicate with other beings, there or whatever it is they're communicating with, that words are not spoken, that it is an instant communication and internal telepathy. And I have here that I think the internet is preparing us for this instant communication because we can pop up and be together all over the world. I think this is just the beginning of the next chapter. And this is not a bad thing. It is not dividing people. I think it's bringing people together. That's just my own thoughts. I put that in there in parentheses. The past life review illuminates the immutable law of karma, which we are taught about so well in Theosophy, which can always be studied for lifetimes upon lifetimes. It is balance. Every single thought and action. And that's terrifying if you think about thoughts. If you think about, no one can hear your thoughts. Thoughts are very important things. They're real and they're energy. But every single thought or action that we experience the effects of what it was like for that person that we were involved with. We understand in every way, not only in a new incarnation, but at that time, we understand, like if you Google Earth out and you're looking at the situation and you can see it from outside your own personality. Theosophy teaches us how to access these teachings without having to cross over. All of this is in there. So there's no judgment. There's no eternal damnation. What better way to control the masses than to terrify them with fear and control and selfishness and greed? If you don't do what I say, you're going to burn forever. And if you do what I say, you get milk and honey and gold. Yay. Okay, so we are one another. The karma and the deep understanding is that we experience and understand, and that's the ultimate. It makes sense, because if we really truly knew that do unto others, that all of the sages through the ages have come through and told us, do unto others as you would have done unto you. Don't do to anyone else that you wouldn't want to have somebody do to you. We're like, yeah, okay. Yeah, it's advice. It's not advice. It's a fact, because everything that you do, everything that you say, every action, you will experience, and then some. So it's a way to keep balance. And actually, if we were to understand this, if people could understand this in psychology, in our justice system, if we could understand truly, we begin to, understand who we truly are. And that's the whole point. So these are still quotes from the near-death experiences. Earthly personality achievements, that wealth and fame and status and power and what you look like, do not matter. It does not matter. They are transitory, rice paper thin, and they disappear. Doesn't make any difference. It's really interesting to think about the amount of people that spend time on nothing but that. In a way, they're sitting this life out. What does matter, it was interesting when they came back, they're coming back saying it was the tiniest acts. Helping somebody cross the street, paying for somebody's groceries one time, things that I had completely forgotten about, they say. The tiniest acts of kindness, compassion, empathy, no matter how small, saving a little snail, little tiny things were huge in their past life review. The things that they thought would matter, like their job or their degree or their status in the community, they weren't even there. But the way they treated each other, the way they reacted to other people's suffering, the way that they controlled their own actions did matter. There was instant forgiveness. And if we look at it in the vices and virtues, the vices of greed and gluttony and sloth and anger, this is the earthly self. And the virtues of compassion, kindness, understanding, love, that is truly what matters. Those vices and virtues written in those spiritual texts are there for instructions, and they really do apply here. That's how you can identify higher and lower self. So when they crossed over, they found out that none of that mattered. None of the earthly personality stuff mattered at all. They understood the relationships and the role of those people in their lives, but their status here on earth did not matter. What did matter was the tiniest acts of empathy, kindness, and understanding. And they were really small, so small that they thought lending somebody a pencil in 5th grade when they were 11 really showed up big in their past life review. They had completely forgotten about that. But the things where they're giving money to charity and showing up to look good, that didn't make any difference. It's when it came from the heart. It's when the goodness came from the heart, no matter how small, is what truly mattered. Is that the true meaning of life? They are coming back. These near-death experiences are coming back, understanding that the meaning of our life is to learn to and to become love. That's it. That's what they're coming back with. Instant forgiveness, as there is instant understanding. Many people like to say that they're a victim because so-and-so, abandoned them, or they were this or that, or a slave can be free if you choose to be free. But you'll understand the role of those people in your life that you might see as enemies. There's instant forgiveness because there is instant understanding. You're able to see the much bigger picture, and you understand there's nothing to forgive. Everybody has a reason, and everybody plays a required role. This is not by accident. You're here to learn. You do have free will, but nothing in your life is happening by accident, and you're not a victim. There's only volunteers, okay? You're not a victim. Most all do not wish to return to Earth. In the near-death experience, it is almost comical when it gets to the time when they say, "My child, this is not your time." And they don't want to go back because of the limitations of the physical world. We're in a world of matter. We're the lowest level of spirit. It's an uncomfortable place that we live in. And there is so much suffering on this planet. There is suffering upon sufferings greater than any hell. And many do not want to come back. They're like, I understand that I have children, but they'll be fine because I'm finally home. This is what I've been looking for all along. I can't leave here. Please don't send me back. That in a majority of the near-death experiences is almost verbatim. Please, I do not wish to return. There's a reconnection from the small I to the greater I. That is a direct quote from one of them. He says, and he was very emotional when he said this. He said, I don't know how to explain it, but there's a connection from the small I to the greater I. And then he was overcome with tears because it was so beautiful. He said, I remembered who I truly am. And that's what it teaches in our teachings of Theosophy. So again, many are told you must go back. It's not your time yet, but you have a mission to complete. And many take this as, oh, the earthly personality takes over and says, oh, I have a mission. We all have missions. But it's not that you need to become an Oprah Winfrey, or do you have to become a Wayne Dyer, or single-handedly save the world. The mission is for you to return to your physical body with this information and apply it in your daily life with everybody that is in your direct little circle. That's where your mission starts. Many of the missions end there. Some go on to be Oprahs, but not all of us. We can only truly save ourselves. And by changing ourselves, if we apply what we learned and we change ourselves, we change everybody else in our own little vicinity. So there is no separation. There's no fear of death. When they return, many of them are saying, I'm looking forward to it, actually. I can't wait to go back. But I realize I'm here for a reason, and I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to take this information and find other people who understand that. They come back with so much more empathy. They come back with not a religion, but a spirituality. They come back with an understanding and connectedness and crushing compassion. Now, the empaths that are coming in this world now, I believe they're coming in with this built in. And they're like, I want to save the world. I want to be woke. I want to, you can't save anybody else, but you can save yourself. You truly can change yourself, your actions, your reactions, and sometimes your environment. That's all you ever have control over. That's it. And here, I wonder if I have the book with me. Yeah, I do. This is from The Voice of the Silence. This is one of my favorite slides ever because it's so true. And I remember when I read this in there, this is from The Voice of the Silence. The quote reads, Mi alba is our earth, pertinently called hell, and is the greatest of all hells by the esoteric school. Okay? The esoteric doctrine knows of no hell or place of punishment other than on a man-bearing planet or earth. So, we are all going to die physically, and we are currently in hell. And that is an absolute true statement. And I remind myself of that sometimes. And I remember reading that in The Voice of the Silence, and it all begins to make a little bit more sense. So again, from The Voice of the Silence, Mi alba is where we are. We are in hell. And she speaks in there of those who are willing to cross back over to let those who are in hell know that they are in hell and that there is hope and that this is not all that there is. Man, know thyself. That's the oracle at Delphi. Know thyself. I can't think of any greater recommendation. Know who you truly are. Who you are, where you are, why you are, what you are, when you are. Know yourself. And Theosophy, for me, and coming across folks like Gary Kidgel, these mathematicians, these scientists saying, you know what? That's where it's all at. these teachings of Theosophy. This seems to make the most sense on this planet at this time. That's why I'm going to dedicate my life to sharing these with the world, because I believe they will help humanity, help to ease the unnecessary suffering of all beings. So again, Socrates coming in here, let him who would move the world first move himself. So all of these woke empaths, I would love if I sometimes hashtag them in the Theosophical teachings. Come in, come take a look at these, apply them, become them, move forth, because your light will then illuminate the darkness. Your light will help illuminate others. They do come back, the near-death experiences do come back with a very deep, strong desire to serve. They want to help others, and they don't really know what to do with that. Some of them don't know what to do. I think by sharing their experiences, they are helping others. There is a recognition and an awakening of this divine spark that is within all of us, that we are so much more than individual human beings. We are. And Theosophy teaches us who we truly are, if we're willing to look. We are pieces of God, of the absolute, the eternal loving light. We are all fundamental and all essential. A lot of times we'd like to say, well, I'm essential, but that really mean, horrible, cruel person isn't essential. Well, they are, and they are us. And I often ask those who come on the Living Theosophy channel, do you have this crushing sense of compassion? It's almost crippling. But I know it came in with me, and it led to codependence and self-destruction, and I'm still working with it. But this compassion is important. You can understand and you can feel that you are connected. We're all part of one big being. You've heard microcosm and macrocosm before. Man is the universe in miniature. These aren't just words. There's much truth to that. So we are all fundamental parts of the whole. All of us, everything, all of these atoms, talking about the discovery of the atom. We thought they were little balls. They're little solar systems. Everything is in motion. Theosophy teaches us that. The most important thing we can do while we are alive is to learn how to love. And there's familial love. There's, where you love your mom and dad and your kids and your husband. And then there's in love, where you have a partner, where you feel that, which is really, it's a beautiful feeling. It's really powerful, but that's not the love I'm talking about. That's romantic love. There's love of like Theosophy. I love Theosophy. That's a type of a love. Love this work. I love what is in there. That's a different type of love. This love, any type of love, this pure unconditional love that is given without any attachment whatsoever, is what they're coming back with. These near-death experiencers are telling us what we have in our texts. So again, together we make up the tapestry here. Each and every one of us is unique. There's no one in the world just like you. There isn't anybody on earth that is just like you. And you are absolutely essential in the dark and the light and everything in between. Like this tapestry behind me, there are different warps, wefts, different colors, pigments. We are all weaving the tapestry of life, of eternity, and we must make sure that we are in tune. And that means getting your crap together. That means when first deserved and then desire, you need to overcome yourself. You've got to be the very best you that you can be, and make sure that you're in tune, so we can play our own individual note in this beautiful harmony, the song of the spheres. This is all a symphony. There's so much to it, and it's all in the teachings of Theosophy. Again, they come back to saying that everything is more real than real. That this world, one man said, it felt like watching a movie in a movie theater, in a dark movie theater, not dissimilar to Plato's cave. But he was watching a movie, felt like he was watching a movie, watched it, beginning, end. Then he leaves the theater, and all of a sudden the sunlight and the real world came into view. That's what it felt like when he left the physical world and crossed over after death into true reality, which he again also called home. I am home. That was just a movie. This life is just a movie. This is just a quick little thing, and make the most of it because it is a gift. So here in the teachings of Theosophy, we have access to greater knowledge than ever imagined. In the secret doctrine, we have anthropogenesis, the origin of man. We have cosmogenesis, the origin of the universe. Isis Unveiled teaches us theology and science. All of the stuff that we study, the reason that you're here, the reason we're all doing what we're doing is because we recognize the importance of the philosophy, spirituality, the mathematics, the sacred geometry, the quantum mechanics. It's all in there. If you're looking for it, it's in the teachings of Theosophy. So looking here, that most everybody on the internet, you can get these books for free. You can get free downloadable PDFs of The Voice of the Silence, even the Secret Doctrine. If each one of us was to study, and more importantly, not just read and then put it down by the side of your bed, not just that, you look at it, and you look at it over and over again over a period of your whole life, and it becomes something different every time. Every time I open this book, I will read the exact same page and something completely different comes through. I don't know how that works. I still don't know. And I always ask my guests about that as well. How is that? It's maybe because it grows as we grow. I have no idea, but I know now there's no way to know everything that's in there. It's a journey. It will take lifetimes upon lifetimes. But if we apply what we hear, if you go back into this presentation and you hear about the love and the karma and the understanding and the balance, and you think about that next time somebody cuts you off and you're driving down the road, somebody cuts you off and you feel anger, or the next time something really sad happens and you realize there's a much bigger picture. Hold on. These people are in your life for a reason. You're here to learn, because when things are difficult, we are learning. When things are good, we get to rest. So if we apply and become these ancient sacred teachings that we have been given, humanity begins to come together and head in the same direction. Like the 100th monkey phenomenon, we create the reality collectively. By choosing love over fear, we can change the trajectory. We can make the difference. It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Who cares? What are you doing? This is all about you. In the opening of this talk, I said, nature is the true church. You're the temple. It's all about you. You. So heaven will come to earth. We're in a very difficult time in this Kali Yuga. We're just here for the moment, and perhaps we'll have to keep coming back, however or wherever we do, until the last teardrop has dried. But heaven will come to earth. Eventually it will. Planetary peace can be achieved if we begin to take responsibility for our own actions, reactions, and our responses. Again, right there in your life, not your spouse, not your kids, not your job, not your neighbors, not anybody else. You have no control over anything except those things right there. And that is your actions, what you do, your reactions, how you respond, and what you choose to do with that response. You're going to act on that. You're going to take revenge. Be careful. Be careful. Okay. There is no supernatural superhero that's going to descend from the sky in the shape of a cloud. I cannot believe that there are videos on YouTube right now that have been photoshopped, and there are people literally waiting and postulating and waiting for this to come from outside of them. It's inside you. It's inside you. This Christ consciousness is not something that's going to come in an individual. The kingdom of heaven is in your midst. It means middle. It's inside of you. It's inside of all of us. So stop looking for it outside of yourself. You know this already if you're in the European School of Theosophy. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So in Isis Unveiled, it is said that the world needs no sectarian church, whether of Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, Swedenborg, Calvin, or any other. There being just one truth, man requires but one church, the temple of God within us. It's walled in by matter, but it's penetrable by anyone who can find the way. It is penetrable by anyone who can find the way. The pure in heart see God. That's the key to Theosophy right there, to me. But that's the Isis unveiled. But the pure in heart see God. The more you do this, the more clear these things become, and then you'll realize that there's so much more to learn. So there are lifetimes of work to be done right here, right now, inside each and every one of us. Everything we are looking for is closer than our own breath. Everything. And we say spiritual, when we say, many of you know this, spirit comes from the word spirare, spiritum, spiritus, to breathe. That's what inspire, expire. It means breath. It is the breath of life. That's what it teaches us about our breath of life, the great breath coming into being. Fohat, you have, and the pralaya is all there. It's funny because I get all excited, and I tend to talk fast when I get excited because it's all there. So you can find these teachings, you'll see them in the Bhagavad Gita. And to me, you have Krishna and Arjuna. That is very clearly higher self, lower self. Replace in these texts that we've grown up with man and God. So you're picturing this bearded person in the clouds or whatever it is that you picture. Take that God and put it as your higher self that's in here. And the man, the lower self, the one of the vices. This is the one of the virtues. So to me, in the Bhagavad Gita, when I read that, I can kind of understand. I'm like, I see. He's talking to the lower self and the higher self. They're speaking to each other. This is the Antakarana. It's inside all of us to climb this ladder. In the Kabbalion, Manly P. Hall, the Canadian-American last century philosopher, Pythagoras, Jacob Boehm. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Some people say Boehme, Jacob Boehm, in alchemy, in the Vedas, in the Upanishads, Lao Tzu. You have Rumi, all these quotes from Rumi, they're throwing them up all over the place. People are starting to gravitate towards these because the churches are becoming just meeting halls, or they're selling them off for real estate. They want to know where's the Holy Grail? Well, it's here. It's here. And Rumi's been talking about it for a long time. The great spirit of the American Indians. How dare we do what we did to take that away and shove Christianity down their throats? Martin Luther King Jr., there are sages through the ages. They're still coming. They are always here. And you can hear them say the exact same thing. The underlying principle of all of the world's religions is compassion. That's what we teach. And then we fight to the death to prove who's more compassionate, which is ridiculous. So unconditional, pure love and unity. It's not to be confused with the different religious ceremonies and rituals, whatever makes you happy, whatever you need to do to get to that silent space within you, because you are the temple. Everything, this is what's coming back from the near-death experiences, validating what we've been told in our theosophical teachings. Everything, every being, no matter how much you might dislike them or have an issue with them, is connected to you. Everything is moving at a different speed. These are atoms, molecules, everything is connected. We're all connected. We understand that this life is one of many, many lives. We understand the relationships that we've had with loved ones and perceived enemies is exactly, unfortunately, sometimes exactly as it's supposed to be. You're supposed to learn something from this. And the most important understanding is that compassion, love, forgiveness, mercy, acceptance, kindness, no matter how small, is truly all that matters. So it doesn't matter your, degrees and your money and your bank accounts or your physical self, what you look like, what movie you start in. It doesn't make any difference at all. How did you treat, if you were, say you're a king, what kind of a king were you? How did you treat the queen? How did you treat the people that were in your kingdom? Good for you, you were king this time around. How were you as a king? What kind of a slave were you? What kind of a boat owner were you? That's what matters. Kindness is all that truly matters. As that is how our souls evolve toward the absolute, the Parabrahman, the universal self or spirit, absolute reality that is beyond God's. So each incarnation, this is just something I put together. I try to remember this. I was using this the other day, is but one letter and one word in one sentence, in one paragraph, in one chapter, in one book, in a library of ever-expanding libraries. And we begin to understand the bigger picture. All is connected. Our thoughts, actions, and emotions affect others. and the planet. When you raise your consciousness, when you overcome something that is absolutely crucifying you, you are doing it for the better good of all. Your journey is not a solo journey. Just because you're connected to everybody else doesn't mean you're responsible for everybody else. Your actions do affect them, but their actions affect you as well. That talks about that in there, about planetary karma consciousness. So it's all inside of our teachings. So when you overcome something, when you get sober, when you diffuse an argument with compassion, when you choose to turn the other cheek, you're helping all of humanity. So this is a quote from Yogi Ramacharaka, William Walker Atkinson writing down as Yogi Ramacharaka. Because if there wasn't more than this life, of what use would all of this pain and sorrow be? If this was the only time you're here, that doesn't make any sense at all. There's got to be more to this story. This pain and this strife that you're going through, that we're going through, this whole world is going through. There is a reason. We are learning. And our thoughts, and I'm looking at the time, I apologize, I'm going long. Our thoughts, the way that we think, the way that we process what we believe to be just passing fancies inside our consciousness. It is not a brain thing. This is a consciousness thing. Pay attention to your thoughts. They're as real as electricity. They are living forces. Choose them wisely. I'll leave it at that. I'm going to see, I don't want to miss any of these. Okay. Oh, the power of thought. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit long. Each and every one of our thoughts and actions, this is again coming back from the near-death experiences, will be experienced by us as we have put them onto others. So that means everything that you have ever done or said or caused another being to experience, you will experience it. Karmic law is one of cause and effect, not punishment or vindictive retribution. So it isn't any punishment coming anywhere from you. So remember, you touch the stove, you burn your finger. It's you did it, so you're going to experience it. Pay attention to that. That's explained in there too. It's a non-negotiable, universal check and balance system that if more of us understood this, I guarantee that we would, if we could truly be as horrified as I am about that, I'm thinking there's a lot of work to do. We would all work on ourselves and there could be peace on earth. Always treat others as you wish to be treated. How different our world will be when we finally understand and apply this absolute eternal truth. The physical brain does not create consciousness. Again, a quote from Dr. Eben Alexander, neurosurgeon, author, Proof of Heaven. HPB talks about it in the collected writings to a great extent. It's also in here in The Secret Doctrine. Unconditional love is infinitely powerful. It is very powerful, transcending personal, romantic, and familial love, as we talked about before. You are deeply loved. This is what they're coming back to tell you, remind you, you are deeply loved and cherished forever. You have nothing to fear. You will be taken care of. And this one, I'll never forget this one. Her name was Amy. I can't remember her last name, but I remember she said she was reminded, if it's not okay, it's not over. And she brought that back with her. And when she expressed that in the physical world, I've used this time and time again. I use it daily almost. If it's not okay, it's not over. Theosophy is literally a textbook for humanity that allows us to individually and collectively begin to treat the cause, that's us, of the endless horrific effects, that's what's going on right now, that plague our world. Selfishness, ignorance, prejudice, superstition, fear, and greed. War, suffering, disease, persecution, prejudice, racism, bigotry, slavery, addiction. Addiction, there's more there that I could go on, but addiction is, I'm 18 years sober. Now I can understand why more and more, it's just a temporary reprieve to feel bliss and to not be in hell. So people who are addicts are very good people. They're just they're stuck in a false euphoria. And I can understand it. You go to any lengths to stop that suffering. I know that I did. Man is the most insane species. He worships an invisible God and destroys a visible nature, unaware that nature, which we're told about, that nature is the God that we're worshiping. So in other words, we destroy nature to worship an invisible God, unaware that nature is God. That's a Hubert Reeves quote. And I realize we're short on time. I'm going to go to this here. This is something that I wrote about death after reading in 2016 about somebody saying, oh, they were taken from me and I'm so sad. And I'm thinking, boy, I wish that they could have the teachings to study. So I wrote this, and I've read this at a few eulogies, and it helps me a great deal. So I look at death a lot differently. And you can apply this to certain times in your life, to a marriage, to a child going off away from you, any kind of ending. Death is not personal. It is as much a part of the natural cycle as birth. For some reason, our Western society has launched into near fanatical celebration of the beginning of the cycle without acknowledgement of the inevitable transition. Life is but a day. Some go to sleep early, some stay up late, but no one sleeps forever. You will awaken again, the love and lessons lived, not lost. The sun rises and sets, or so we think. The moon waxes and wanes, the tides come in and go out. Civilizations rise and fall, as does your chest with the breath of life. This is a constant cycle from the moment you got here until the very last second when you leave. God does not take anything or anyone from you, and you're not a victim. Death comes to each and every one of us. Instead, see and understand that you've been given everything, and it is up to you what you do with it while you're here. So let's go down to this. Theosophy for everyone, no longer just the few. All can become living theosophy. And so I say, this is one of the things that I say when they go, oh, well, you got to pay all these dues, and no, you don't have to pay any money. You do need to do the work. It can't be bought or taught, can be earned and learned. So no one can do it for you. In other words, first deserve, get your crap together, get yourself in order, then desire, and these teachings will come easier to you. It is not our job to simply read and study for the result of becoming individually enlightened. It is our job to become the light and enlightened, to recognize the divine spark within, and then it is our job to bring that light forth into the world to illuminate the darkness. And on that note, I shall close.